Engineering was fun for what it was. It's engineering. It's kind of straightforward. We're all here to learn engineering, right? Once you learn it, you apply it, and you just keep doing it over and over again. So what's the sex part? Well, as a young woman, I was one of the very few people that were women in this place. And it was really hard. And this applies, I need you both to listen to it, both male and female, because this applies to both of you. As a woman, it was very hard for me to be in engineering because I had a lot of shit happen to me that I really hope never happens to you ladies out there. I had a couple of times that I was sexually harassed. Thank God nobody touched me in appropriate ways, but they sure said a lot of things that were fucked up. Like I had one guy tell me, "Who did you sleep with to get to your position?" Right? I had one guy try to get me out of work at 5 in the morning to play squash with him. And because I wasn't that kind of person, he treated me like shit for the rest of the time that I was at the company. I ended up being on his project maybe 5 years after I started in the company. And he was like one of the biggest bosses. And he would watch me every time, he and his clan, they would watch me. And if I was like 5 minutes late, which the parking lot was maybe like half empty, even half an hour after that. But for some reason, I always got picked on. And he would always call me in his office and yell at me with passion about how I was failing at my job. Even though I consistently asked him and the people who worked for him for offering them any help. What can I do to help you guys? Because I'm just sitting at my desk. I don't have a lot of work right now. What can I do to help you guys? He even tried to get rid of me because it was a time when they were laying people off. But thank God that I was just myself at this place, at this company. And I just did my job and I did it well. And I had gotten the attention of our executives in the region. But he didn't know that because he was so short-minded that he assumed that I had never gotten anywhere in the 5 years between when he first saw me and the 5 years after he saw me again. So when he tried to get me off the job, without even telling my supervisor, I just got moved to another job in a better position. Ha ha. Then there was this other guy who was a subordinate to me, who kind of stalked me online. He found out my private email address and he started writing me love letters, which was very uncomfortable. I know that I might come off to you as someone who is very confident. I'm not shaking up here talking to 150 of you guys. I stick it to the man every once in a while, you know. I seem like I have a lot of confidence, but when that guy wrote me those letters, it was very uncomfortable. There's a strange thing about sexual harassment that kind of gets under your skin. And I finally grew the balls to ask HR at the time, which I was fortunate enough that at that time, the HR department was actually good. And they got rid of him, which was nice for me. Because then I could focus on my job. So why am I telling you guys this? Well, on a side note, for all of you gentlemen out there, you have a lot of power in the workforce when you leave here. And you have a lot of power to do a lot of good also, which is really difficult in the engineering world. Out of all of the people at that company and the executives, I would say that there were maybe one who I fully trusted. There was only one executive man that I trusted because he was actually doing things to help both men and women feel empowered in this world of engineering. And you know that I went to lunch with him one time and another executive, and we talked about it. We talked about women in the workplace. And you know what he told me? He told me that it was really hard for men to help women too, because there was a lot of peer pressure. There's a lot of dickheads in the world still. Thank God the world is changing for the better. Because there's a lot of amazing people too that are trying to change the world, but it doesn't mean that it's easy. It's still really hard. There were a lot of other girls that had these similar stories to me, and I wish that they didn't. As a manager, if I knew their names or if they had directly come and talk to me, I could have helped them, but they didn't, so I couldn't. And it was really tough. So what is the lesson here? You have to fight for what you want. Sometimes when you make plans to do something, they go as planned. But sometimes other shit comes up that you didn't plan to have. That kind of fucks up your plans a little bit. Sometimes your plans work out and things come up on top of that. But you're never a victim. You always have a choice. And this applies to other areas of your life too. The other stories that I have here, the first one is about a bully. The second one is with my parents again and me fighting for my rights to do something that I wanted to fight. It wasn't World War I story either. It was a different time. You could call this World War II. I don't know. And lovesick too. In relationships, sometimes we get stuck in really shitty situations. Especially in college, where hooking up is a real big norm and walk of shame happen every weekend. You get yourself stuck in really shitty situations, or even if you've never had sex or never kissed a girl or a guy, the shitty situation is that you can't tell this person how you feel, and not having the balls to do it because you're just scared shitless. Oh, poor me, I don't have the balls to do it. Well, you always have a choice, you guys. You always have a choice. And if you don't feel like you have a choice, if you feel really stuck, then use your brains. You guys are smart. You're very smart. Don't underestimate yourselves. So I want you guys to do this again. Repeat after me. You are never a victim. You always have a choice. You are never a victim. I see one person not talking, one person not talking. You are never a victim. You always have a choice. So let's repeat those life lessons I just told you from my life. There's always someone who's going to tell you that you're stupid for living your life the way that you want it to. So just do what makes you happy. Sometimes things go our way and sometimes they don't. But you have to embrace fear whenever it comes your way, because it can be worth it if you make it worthwhile. You have to fight for what you want sometimes, and I really mean fight. But you are never a victim, as hard as it can be. You're never a victim. You always have a choice. So now it's your turn. Do you guys remember, for those of you who filled out the survey, that I asked you one question? That is, what is one important piece of advice that you would tell your 15-year-old self? Do you remember that question? Okay. So, for those of you who didn't fill it out, I'm going to give you guys about 1 minute to come up with one thing that you would tell your 15-year-old self. What is one thing that you would tell yourself when you are, for most of you, it's going to be a sophomore in high school, and you're 16, right? No, yeah, 16. Well, what is one thing that you would tell yourself? I want you to think about it right now. Just one thing. I'm going to give you like 30 seconds. Go. It's just one thing, you guys. You filled out the survey, come up with another thing. Here's the thing that I don't want you to forget today, you guys. Each one of you has lived a very, very, very different life than everybody else sitting around you. Even you in the Hopkins sweater up there, talking to the girl in the green shirt. We all live different lives and we all make different choices. So it's impossible that my 3 life lessons are going to apply to you or anybody else in this room. And you guys are going to have lessons that no matter how smart you are, you're going to have to be reminded of it for the rest of your life. So that one thing that I asked you guys to think about that you would tell your 15-year-old self morning, I was trying to find my 2 shirts that I was supposed to wear today, and I couldn't find them. And I was so fucking annoyed, because I was like, I packed these bitches. I packed them. And my husband walks in, and he's like, sometimes things work out, and sometimes they don't. And I was like, I hate you. He just gave me my own advice. But it happens. It doesn't matter how smart you are. You're going to have to give yourself the same advice throughout the rest of your life. I want also from you guys, I want you to do me a favor. That if you learned anything today, anything at all, if you could please email me. Please do me that courtesy. Because I'm a human being too, and I'd like to know if I made a difference in your life. That's my information. And my website, which you could also reach me at. I'd like to thank Kathy. I'd like to thank my husband, my parents, and the mentors that I have too many to thank.
Can you go back to your email,
If you guys have any questions or comments, you can ask me now or later, but it's over.